just closed on my first triplex, adding 3 more units to my portfolio. This is my 9th rental property, and in this video, I'm gonna be breaking down every aspect of this deal, from finding the deal, negotiating the deal, financing the deal, remodeling it, and my projected rents and after repair value. How's it going, guys? It's your boy Mike, and if you're interested in learning how to invest in the Midwest at a distance, then you're in the right spot. I live in Seattle, but I have an entire real estate portfolio in Gary, Indiana. Now, I've been investing there since 2020, and I've helped many others learn the market and get started investing alongside me in a landlord-friendly state where the numbers just make a little more sense. Now let's jump right into my 9th rental property. I found this triplex, an all-brick 3-unit building with 3 separate 2-bed, 1-bath units on the MLS the day that it listed. Now, I make sure to look at my market every day, or dang near every day, because good deals like this are rare and often go very quickly. Now, it was listed for $67,000, and even for Gary, Indiana, that seemed too low to be a good property. Now, I also noticed that on Realtor.com, which is where I found the listing for the property, there weren't any pictures of the interior. Now, experienced investors know what no interior pictures means, but for the rookies out there in a troubled market like Gary, it most likely means one of 3 different things. Number 1, the interior is completely destroyed and unlivable. Number 2, the tenants are very hostile and unwilling to let anybody take pictures or come into the units. Or number 3, this must be a hoarder house, and any pictures of the inside would make it that much more difficult to sell. Now, unfortunately, none of those scenarios are fun for you as the investor. Now, because I love to live dangerously, I decided to just go for it. And by dangerously, I mean extremely conservatively. So here's what I did. I had my agent, Angelo, put in a full price cash offer contingent on inspection. That's a very important contingency to have listed, especially with properties like the ones that I buy in Gary. This allows me to back out of the deal with no penalty if needed. Now, it also allowed me to get multiple walkthroughs by my various different trusted boots on the ground to certify or reject this property. Now, here's where you have to have a good understanding of the subtleties and nuance of what a seller may say. Now, I was informed by the seller that the triplex had 1 tenant living in it. Now, translating, that's good news. That leads me to assume it couldn't be in total disrepair. If somebody's occupying the structure, we must at least have electrical and working water, etc. So maybe it was just very dirty, or the tenant was hostile, the landlord was frustrated. Now, I had Angelo swing by and view the unit. Now, I always have my agents take video walkthroughs and provide me with footage and photos of whatever I'm looking at buying. Now, in this case, both Angelo and I couldn't even believe what we were seeing. He walked through the property, and it appeared to be in somewhat decent condition. There was no hoarder house filled to the top with decades worth of trash, no holes in the floors, the walls, or the roof for the elements to come in. It just seemed like a dated and empty triplex. Now, this is a freaking jackpot, and this is also why it can be good to lock up a property quickly with an offer, get it under contract, to take that opportunity away from other investors, so long as you have your inspection contingencies so you can bail if you need to later. So I continue on with the purchase and had the building professionally inspected by a home inspector and by my property manager. And lastly, I knew there was going to need to be significant updates and remodeling that needed to be completed if I wanted to get Section 8 approval for these units. Now, for those of you who don't know, I love the Section 8 program, and I highly recommend it. So I had a contractor recommended to me by my property manager walk through and give me estimates on this massive scope of work. Now, the estimates included windows, flooring, painting, new cabinets, kitchen counters, sinks, rewiring electrical, work in the bathrooms, landscaping, and many more little ticky-tacky things around the house. They estimated a repair cost of around $42,000. This was prior to closing on the property. So, if I purchase it for $67,000 and add $42,000 in remodeling, I'm all in under $110,000. Now, I ran comps on the property through my real estate agent, and we believe that conservatively it should have an after repair value, ARV, of around $160,000. Now, this is a large enough spread that it would make the BRRRR strategy pretty attractive. Now, I would be able to buy it, fix it up, rent it out, and get all of my money back in 6 months after a cash out refinance. I also anticipated that I would be able to get the construction costs closer to $30,000 instead of $42,000 if I went out there, worked on building out my team of contractors to get better prices and avoid paying a general contractor or project manager the fees to manage that project for me. So, for the first time in my investing career, after I closed on the property, I traveled out there and I met with a contractor to have him explain his pricing. Now, unfortunately, instead of getting pricing down, the exact opposite happened. He didn't sharpen his pencil. He began stating that multiple concerns that we were addressing in person had not been mentioned in the earlier scope of work and would need to be added on. Now, I was frustrated because I was under the impression that these items had been talked about in the earlier estimate and were even mentioned in the paperwork he had given me. Now, he took the repair costs from $42,000 up to $80,000. At this point, I determined that that was not going to work for me. Even though I would still be able to utilize the BRRRR strategy, get the majority, if not all of my money back, I didn't want that much of it going out in repair costs when I knew that I could find better pricing on my own. So I started piecemealing out my work to different contractors, and I'm way under budget so far. Work isn't completed yet, and I don't have the final numbers, but I'm confident that I'm going to be able to get this much closer to the $30,000 amount that I had initially hoped for, way under the $40,000 amount, and certainly nowhere near the $80,000 amount that I was quoted on. So make sure that you stay tuned and subscribe to my channel if you want to get the project updates. And here's a little quick example of how I'm already winning. Now, I was quoted for window replacement and installation at $13,500. That's garbage. Now, through my network, I purchased and had installed all of the windows for just under $6,000, cutting that particular project down by over 50%. Now, back to the deal. You might be asking yourself how I financed the project. Now, that's a great question. Now, this was my first project where I used private money. Now, I'll be making a completely separate video explaining the private money play here because it's a pretty unique strategy that I went with, and I haven't heard other people talk about it. Now, I doubt that I'm the only person to ever come up with this deal and structure it like this, but I haven't heard anybody else talk about doing it this way. So here's how I financed it. First, I drew down against my home equity line of credit, my HELOC, to pay cash for the property. The purchase price was $67,000, and I ended up getting it for $64,000 using my HELOC. Now, after closing the deal, I created a private mortgage between me and the private money lender and a promissory note. Now, this was then filed with the county as a lien against the house. The private lender sent me the $60,000, which paid my HELOC all the way back down to just a $4,000 balance, and then I paid the remainder off with my own cash. Now, next, I'll use my own cash again to pay for the repairs on this property. Now, I'm hoping for under $30,000 in repairs. I'm going to fund this from my cash and not the HELOC, but I'm going to keep that HELOC ready to go in case I find more real estate deals in the future. Now, lastly, my term for the private money is 5 years, but I included a balloon extension of up to an additional 3 years if the property doesn't appraise for at least $160,000. Now, this protects me from being forced to refinance at the wrong time, like during a recession, or during a high interest rate environment like we have right now. Now, I also made sure to structure this with no prepayment penalty so that if an attractive refinance opportunity presents itself early, I can lock the deal up with 30-year fixed rate money without paying any penalties. So I've got to pay my private money lender 10% on her $60,000 yearly, divided into 12 monthly payments, comes out to $500 a month is what I owe her. So I explained to the private money lender that if I ended up refinancing the deal early because there was a great opportunity, that I would look to reinvest her money immediately unless she wanted it back and didn't want to reinvest it again. Now, the private money lender in this case was thrilled with the deal so far. She's even collected her first disbursement already because I pay monthly, and she's loving it. All right, now let's actually talk the numbers on this property. Now, based on my knowledge and experience in the market, I know that all 3 units will rent for approximately $750 each to Section 8 tenants. Now, that's a total of $2,250 a month in rent. Now, I run my numbers the same way every time. So I take my total rent of $2,250, I knock 30% off the top for vacancies, maintenance, and paying a property manager. That leaves me with $1,575. Next, I subtract $125 for insurance and $150 for taxes. Now I have $1,300 left over. Now, I still have to pay my private money lender, again, 10% on her money, so I'm going to pay her out of that monthly cash flow. So again, $60,000 is what she gave me. 10% of that a year is $6,000. Divided into monthly payments is $500 a month. So subtract $500 off my $1,300, and I have a remaining profit of $800 a month. $800 a month times 12 months in a year is $9,600 yearly. Now, if you divide that by the cash to acquire the property, which should be less than $35,000, I have a 27% cash on cash return. That's right, I'll take another jewel in my King of Gary crown. Thank you very much. But wait, there's more. After completing the BRRRR strategy portion, later on down the line at my anticipated ARV of $160,000, I know the lender's going to cut me a check for up to 75% of that 160, which ends up being $120,000. Now with that money, I'm going to pay off the private money lender and pay myself back all of my remodeling costs, and then have a surplus of money left over, otherwise known as a profit. Now at this point, I have no money left in the deal. I'll have made money on the project and added another infinite cash on cash return deal to my collection. Now again, some of these numbers are projections, but I always estimate extremely conservatively so as not to leave myself hanging out to dry in the event that I'm wrong. Now I'm also going to get the benefit of 5 years and possibly 8 years of appreciation that isn't being factored into this model yet. Now I will make sure to do an update on this property when I complete the remodel and get it rented. Until then, you guys have my blueprint for my strategy on this triplex. I'm calling it the slow burn method. Steal it, copy it, change it, but most of all, leave a comment down below if you like the strategy or if you didn't. I love the criticism and I love constantly trying to get better. It makes me better and makes me be a better real estate investor. As always, guys, I really try my best here to be as transparent with the videos that I make and my adventure going through this real estate investing journey. If you liked the video, let me know down below. Thank you as always for watching, and hey, we'll catch you next time.